by Penguin.
All the King's Men. The British Soldier from the Restoration to Waterloo by Saul David. Read by Sean Barrett. For My Darling Molly. Prologue. In the early hours of the 6th of July, 1685, as the Earl of Feversham's Royal Army slept in its camp on the field of Sedgemoor in Somerset, a large rebel force crept ever closer, determined to murder the King's soldiers in their tents. The rebels, most of whom were solid West Country dissenters, were led by the handsome and staunchly Protestant Duke of Monmouth, the 36-year-old illegitimate son of the late King Charles II and his mistress Lucy Walter. An experienced soldier who had served with distinction in the Third Anglo-Dutch War of 1672-4, Monmouth had long maintained that his parents were married at the time of his birth, making him, and not his uncle, the openly Catholic James II, the rightful heir to the throne. But his father had failed to support his claim, causing Monmouth to throw in his lot with the ultra-Protestant Rye House plotters who had tried in 1683 to assassinate both royal brothers and make him king. They failed, and Monmouth was banished to Holland, remaining there until his father's death on the 6th of February, 1685. Determined to seize the throne, he landed at Lyme Regis on the 11th of June with barely 150 followers, proclaiming his uncle a Catholic usurper. West Country Puritans rallied to his cause, and at one point his army numbered 6,000 men. But after he had failed to take Bristol, and with his support ebbing away, he decided to risk all in the attack on the royal camp at Sedgemoor. Though his force had shrunk to just 600 cavalry and 3,000 infantry, in 5 colour-coded regiments, it still outnumbered the Earl of Feversham's royal army of 750 horse, 1,900 infantry, and 200 artillerymen sent to oppose it. Feversham had a further 1,500 militiamen in nearby villages. They did not take part in the battle. But in every other respect, Monmouth's force was inferior. It had fewer cannon, 4 to the Royalist 26. It was poorly armed with matchlock muskets and scythes on 8-foot poles, while almost all the royal troops had the latest flintlocks. And its men were mostly untrained amateurs, while Feversham's soldiers were the cream of James II's standing army, veterans of the recent wars against the French and Dutch. Monmouth acknowledged as much when, having spotted the colours of Dumbarton's, later the 1st Royal Scots, regiment of foot, a unit that had served under him in France, he exclaimed, "I know these men will fight, and if I had them I would not doubt of success." Instead, Monmouth had to overcome the Scots and other crack units like the 1st and 2nd Foot Guards, the Royal Horse Guards, or Blues. The regiment was named after the colour of its uniform, Oxford blue, and the Royal Dragoons, and he knew his only hope was surprise. Hence the night attack on the royal camp at Sedgemoor, which, according to Royal Gunner Edward Dummer, was a strong position, bequirked, surrounded, with a dry, but in some places miry, ditch, fronting the moor, a place copious and commodious for fighting. Feversham had taken few precautions beyond posting sentries and cavalry pickets. No attempt had been made to fortify the royal camp, and, recorded Dummer, a supine mood and a preposterous confidence of ourselves, with an understanding of the rebels that many days before had made us make such tedious marches, had put us into the worst circumstances of surprise. Our horse in quarters, some near, some remote, our artillery distant, and in a separate post to that of the camp, neither accommodable to general resistance. So unprepared were the royal officers, according to a member of the Blues, that most of them were drunk and had no matter of apprehension of the enemy. Initially, fortune smiled on Monmouth. A thick mist helped to obscure his march from Bridgewater, and as he moved down the east side of the moor, he slipped between 2 royal patrols, and would certainly have been discovered by a third at the Langmoor Rhine, a drainage ditch directly in his path, had it not recently been removed. Having reached the Langmoor, Monmouth gave his final orders. The cavalry, under Lord Grey, would use a ford to cross.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?